Thinking about GLP-1s to help with weight loss? Go micro with Noom. You start off with a small dose of medication, then gradually increase as your body reacts. The Noom GLP-1 microdose program starts at $79 and is delivered to your door in 7 days. Start your microdose GLP-1 journey today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Noom. Micro changes, big results. Initial 3-week subscription and 4 weeks of medication from $79 plus tax, and $179 per month plus tax for 7-week subscription thereafter. Final pricing depends on program selection.
Hey there, and welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We're fueled by the incredible clients who inspire us every day, allowing us to elevate their health and fitness journeys. On this show, you'll gain valuable insights from top professionals, hear inspiring transformation stories, and discover the knowledge and motivation to create your own best life. Let's dive in. As someone who has continuously used therapy as a way to heal and elevate my personal performance, I know wholeheartedly that you cannot always read the label when you're in the jar. And that's why it's so helpful to have a professional in your corner to talk to. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide our listeners with the opportunity to work with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home. Receive 10% off your first month when you sign up by going to betterhelp.com/TFL. That's betterhelp.com/T as in think, F as in fitness, L as in life. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who can help.
Welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. Nowadays, in this fast-paced society that we have, and the brain getting pulled into all different kind of realms of social media, different platforms, all these different attention seekers and procrastination techniques, and kind of what they call nowadays is like kind of this mind rot. We came across a book called Metamorphosis by DK. Is it Kang?
Kang or Kang?
Kang.
Either
DK
way.
Kang. And it's a very quick read, but it's a very good read of really changing how you think about what your purpose is in life and where you kind of want to drive your life. And I think it's one of those that should be on every kind of like table in waiting rooms, offices, or just in people's library, because it's one of these books that it helps you become more of a growth mindset thought process than people might actually think, where they get stuck or they read or listen to other things, they get overwhelmed. But his book really breaks it down of how do you make yourself better? And it's in the way it's written is very simple. So we got to welcome on DK Kang. Welcome onto the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor.
So this book, kind of getting into it off the bat, I mean, Mindset Metamorphosis, great title, but what made you want to kind of dive in and write this book?
Yeah, so kind of a quick story. I wrote it during my wife's cancer diagnosis. So during 2024, January, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And when you hear the word cancer, I mean, it shakes your world. It turns your world upside down. And so as we're trying to learn more about this diagnosis and trying to see doctors, I'm reading this book called The Breast Cancer Husband. And as I'm about to finish it, the main thing I got out of the book was be there for your wife with appointments and be there for her emotionally. And so as I'm finishing it, the book says, hey, let your employer know that you as a husband needs to be at her appointments and to have a flexible work schedule. And so I was pretty reluctant, and I was like, well, this book said to do it. I'm going to go do it. And so I let my employer know February 1st of 2024. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll let you have a flexible work schedule. And then a week later, they laid me off. They didn't give me a reason. They said, oh, budget cuts, things like that. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure you laid me off.
Kind of know. Yep.
Yeah, but I can't hold them against it. So I was like, whatever. And so for me, the book kind of came about because like I felt stressed. I felt overwhelmed. I felt stuck. Like I can't help my wife like through this process. So I'm like, I can't be the only one dealing with stress. Someone that's lost a job or someone that is dealing with a health crisis. And when you're dealing with both, like, you don't know what to do. So for me, I'm like, I can't be the only one that's dealing with this thing. So it kind of came about of I had free time because I didn't have a job. Both of us didn't have a job for 10 months. Well, my wife's still currently not working. Fast forward to today. I mean, she's healed from cancer of February of 2025. But I mean, it's still a long road because we went into debt, $60,000. And there was a point where when I got laid off, and there's a point where we didn't have like insurance that like kicked in. And so we got a bill for one chemo treatment. This was like the end of February. And it was $80,000 for one chemo treatment. She needed 12. And so I'm like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, what do I do? And I'm just really stressed and I'm like stuck. Like we're not having income coming in. On top of that with living expenses. But thankfully, I made a lot of phone calls and then insurance did kick in. And so thank goodness for that. But because I wrote the book because I wanted to relate to everybody else that may be feeling that way. And so there's a lot of practicals in the book, growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Like a fixed mindset is, okay, this is all we know and we're going to do what the doctors tells us. And that's kind of the end all be all. Instead of like taking responsibility, we took responsibility on, well, let's have a growth mindset. Let's learn about cancer. Let's learn how other people have done it, beat it, or healed from it. Like we were also reading a book called Crispy Cancer. And so we implemented everything that he talked about because Chris Work got cancer when he was like 26. And he had like a stage 3 colon cancer and he didn't go through chemo. He just completely changed his diet and his lifestyle. And so, and for me, I believe that so much happens in the mind, like everything starts in your mind. And if you can't like take action with your mind, then things fall apart. Like I'll give you an example. So I like to do Spartan races. And I did a Spartan 50K Spartan race with 60 obstacles and things went wrong. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like I tore my hands, I got a nosebleed. I dropped my tracker. I dropped the boulder on my toe. I carried 3 hydration packets with me and just like things just went wrong. But my mindset was like, keep going. I'm going to finish this race. But then I'm like passing people and they're just saying like, this race is way too hard. Like, I can't finish this. And guess what? Like, because they said that, they were thinking that they didn't finish it. They got a DNF, did not finish. And it's a 50% fail rate because it's that mindset of people are like thinking, I just can't do this or this is too hard. And the mind is so powerful that we just don't realize it. And for me, I just wanted to help people out to really start changing their mind, change their lifestyle around, and to help in any way that I can, because I wish I had a book to tell me like, hey, you need to change your mind. And with the cancer diagnosis with my wife, because we could have easily just been like, well, life sucks. This is the road and we have no jobs. We have this health crisis that may or may not kill us. And so we could have easily just spiraled down and just been like, and just gave up, but we decided not to.
I think that's one of the things I see a lot with my young kids that I coach is more of they're very quick to kind of throw in the towel when things get hard. And they're like, well, I'm done with it. It doesn't really matter. It's not important to me, as kind of an excuse to really just kind of just say, hey, I want to just stop because it's too hard. But again, in your case, you just can't do that. There's certain instances in life where like there's no giving up. I mean, you could, but it's like your brain's gonna be like, no, we're not. Like we can't just do this, and it's gonna take everything and anything. And I did in kind of like the book how it's laid out. So when people read it, it's just principles and practices. And I gotta like it's just what can you take away from each chapter? Like you could open the book to any random page and you're going to take away a behavior for it. For you, when kind of diving into it, what do you think that to start with someone's mindset change? Where does it start, or where did you guys start? Your wife and you, where did you guys start to be like, hey, we need to get stronger through our mental bandwidth?
Yeah, I think it's really just starting with that intention and your why. Like, why do you want to build a stronger mind? For me, like I've done martial arts all my life, and you talked about throwing in the towel. My instructor, he once told me, because martial arts is hard when punches and kicks are being thrown at your face. Like, it's like, how do you react? What do you do? But he's like, instead of throwing in the towel, how about we just not bring the towel with us? So you don't even have a chance to throw in the towel. And so that kind of stuck with me. I'm just like, I'm thinking like that's still kind of a mindset shift. Like, do I bring the towel so I can throw it in? I had that opportunity to throw it in, or do I just not bring it in at all? And so, yeah, so I think for me, it's just not bringing that towel to whatever life throws at you, because we're all going to go face something, some sort of obstacle, some sort of challenge, some sort of storm. But I think having that mindset, just like the starting point is having that intention and like that you want to learn about yourself, because some things we just don't have control, but we do have control of our mind.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
And I think when people hear that word mindset, like you said in the book, it's people think it's a buzzword and they're like, well, I can't control everything. And your definition of it is it's a set of beliefs that colors your interactions with the world and with yourself, influences how you interpret setbacks, how you handle stress, and how much joy you derive from your accomplishments. And I think people, when they hear the buzzword, they just think, oh, mindset means, oh, I got to just bear down and do it. But they need to go back and re-listen to that definition, because you're saying there's going to be stress, there's going to be setbacks, but at the end, what are your accomplishments? What are your goals looking down the road? And everyone has different goals looking down the road. Like, I'm sure for your wife, you guys are like, hey, we need to just get you healthy. Like, goal one, and then obviously goal two is like financially, like that's a stress. Yeah. People, I think when they think that mindset, they're looking for this sort of training. This might be my opinion. That's just outside of the realm of what they might be able to handle, instead of just starting simple within themselves, like interactions and learning about themselves and kind of their behaviors.
Yeah.
And for you, the mindset of, and one section I really like is the emotional intelligence. And I've been using this a lot because I think people get the other ones. They're going to develop habits. They've read books and habits, but they neglect that emotional intelligence. Not that they do it on purpose, more or less that they might just not even know what it is. And when it all of a sudden an event hits them, you're like, oof, okay. Go into detail, emotional intelligence, like how you felt it was for you and your wife, and then why the importance of it in the book.
Yeah, I mean, emotional intelligence for us, I mean, like I said, cancer shook our world. I mean, for me, like my wife was just emotionally drained from all the treatments and seeing all these doctors. And so for me, I had to kind of be that emotional anchor for her. There was just days where she's like, I can't handle this. Like, I can't do this. Like, that's what she's saying to me. But for me, I'm like, no, like, let's continue to do what we're doing, because there is an end goal, and let's express how we're feeling, like on paper, like journaling is so powerful in what, just like getting our thoughts down into paper and like actually seeing it or actually saying it out loud, finding an accountability partner to be able to like ask you like, hey, how are you really feeling? Like, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling depressed because you're going through all this? And just actually like, there's like an emotional like paper that has like little faces on each thing. And it says like sad, happy, things like that. And then that's something that helped me, was like to look at this sheet. I'm like, yes, I'm feeling this at the moment right now. I'm feeling upset or I'm feeling sad because of XYZ. But I think just actually just putting it to a name and like the emotion to it and expressing it to other people or writing it down, it just helps you like get better clarity on what your own emotions are feeling, because humans are very complex beings with so many different types of emotions that sometimes we just don't know how to express it or even know how to say like, yeah, I'm feeling XYZ, because there's a million emotions. But I think it's just being self-aware of like for us, like our own emotions, what we're feeling, because somebody else might be feeling that too. And like, oh yeah, I'm feeling that too because I went through XYZ.
Yeah. And especially because emotions are going to have thousands of emotions are going to happen a day, depending on what your day looks like or what happens in life. It's one thing I think gets overlooked a lot is like we are complex, designed to throw out these emotions to react to our environment, and to not tell people about them and write them down and make sense of them is a disservice. And then circling back is one thing I've always, as a coach, has always not struggled with, but more or less I'm going to say like a lack of empathy for some people when it comes to working out. Now, you said that when your wife was down, you had to be strong and kind of like push through. Did you find in those scenarios, like, did you want to be at her same emotion to kind of like give her sympathy or empathy? Or were you always like, hey, we got to push through? Because there's times when people, I think they want the same emotion and kind of like, oh, we're going to feel bad for this. But then, like you said, there's times where you have to be you and be like, no, we're pushing through, and kind of pull someone through. And I think that's a hard thing for people to go through, because we're human. We want to feel sad for someone. Dive into kind of like that background for you and how to make that decision of, hey, when to pull that trigger of like what emotion to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line. And I mean, there were times where I just sat with her in silence. And there were just times where I didn't have to say anything. I just was there and for 10 minutes and just sat in quiet silence. And later she tells me, yeah, that's exactly what I needed. Like I didn't need a cheerleader on my side at the moment. And I think it's just reading the situation, reading the room. And if you start like saying, hey, like we got to keep going, we got to keep doing this, and the other party responds like in a negative way, then yeah, just kind of back off. And again, we're very complex human beings, and it's part of it is reading that party and the insights. And I mean, I know my wife pretty well, but if you just go up to like some random person, they might not want to do that.
Right.
Or even a friend, because they're trying to figure out things in their own emotion, in their own head. But sometimes just sitting in silence with that person, it might just be helpful.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, I just need somebody here with me.
I like that, because there's always those situations where like there's nothing needs to be said. They just know that there's someone there. And as awkward as it can be, just to sit there in silence, it's sort of just kind of let it go until that person's maybe ready to say something or ready to do something. Because stress impacts, like stressful events really impact like the human brain differently. And I say stressful events, I mean, stress from Instagram posts, to me, that's really like minor stress. Some
Yes.
people that they're going to take that as big stress. If you're a young kid and you're going through the social hierarchies, but also to break that apart and say, hey, what do our stresses look like in this world? Are they, or bucket them? Are they smaller stress, or are they like a stress that, hey, this can really impact the rest of your life? Now you pay attention to it.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. So for you, when writing this book, and what was your like main kind of development through the book, where it's like there's these smaller sections when people get the book, smaller sections, and you kind of guide them through these journey. Now, is this from your own journaling? Kind of like, did you look back through the journaling and kind of script the book of it, or was it like, hey, this came to me, this is my experience, I'm going to put it in layman's terms?
Some of it depended. Some of it I was writing stuff down. I mean, I wrote the book mainly for me because
You say that in the book. That's like the best thing. Like, I wrote this for me. It's like,
like, yeah, but I mean, again, but I wanted to help other people as well. So I was like, well, I need to kind of reframe it to like other people that may not be going through what I'm going through, but I know other people are stressed and feeling overwhelmed and feeling stuck, whether it be professionally, whether it be fitness, whether it be personally, whatever it is, we're all going to go through it. And so sometimes it was me journaling. Like, I'm like, oh, like I'm journaling. Oh, I think I should put this in the book, but I kind of rewrote it to like, or maybe not, I didn't want to make it about me. I wanted to make it about the reader. And so I put myself in that shoe of like the reader. And so I wanted to just make it kind of accessible to pretty much everybody. But then there was times where I'm like, I need to figure out how someone else did it. And so like, I'm reading about something else. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds great. Like, I want to put that in the book just in my own way. And so then I would go implement it. Like if someone says like, hey, go meditate to de-stress. And I start doing it. I'm like, okay, breathing, meditating, clearing my thoughts. Okay, this really helps. So I'm like, I want to put this in the book because I'm not going to just throw something out there and be like, hey, try this. But everybody's different. Some people may or may not like it. But for me, it was just kind of ideas that I was like, oh, these are working for me and that helped me. Maybe it might help somebody else. So that's kind of how it kind of formed and came about. Some of those like little things. Because I talk about hydration, I talk about sleep and how it affects like your brain health. And so, yeah, I just wanted to let it be accessible to everybody.
And then the tactics. So going to the mindset or the meditation, I'm one that it's harder for me to meditate and really kind of feel that kind of sense of, okay, relax or thought process, which is fine because there might not people that get it. But then you have other ones of like self-positive talk. And that one can resonate with me more than the meditation. So when you're reading it, you kind of get this feeling like you're reading it through your own lens. You kind of see your own stresses. It brings to light kind of what someone else or what you might be going through or someone else is going through. And then you kind of refer back to it. So I found myself a couple times reading a page and then thinking about how that would apply to my life. And then going back and reading the next page or the next section and kind of having this reflection back and forth as I read the book versus some other books where you just kind of read for information. So it helps people develop how they want to tackle their mindset differently using the tools.
And talking about like a positive self-talk, I feel like we're just so bombarded with like the negative from news, from social media, and just a lot of garbage stuff. And so there's this saying that it takes 10 positives to basically counterbalance that one negative. And when we're bombarded with so much negative, like we kind of have to like have that positivity of like, or let me reframe this setback or this negative and into something positive for myself. Because I mean, the negative it's really draining. Like I was talking about the 50K with everybody was saying like, hey, this is too hard. I can't finish this race or whatever. Like I didn't want that to get in my head. Like for me, I'm like, I need to keep going. I want to finish this race because it's a goal for me to do. And so, I think positive self-talk is a big one for a lot of people. And for me, I grew up doing martial arts, so we always meditated. So it was something that I grew up with. Yeah. Some people, it might not resonate with some people, but like you said, with the positive self-talk, that might resonate with somebody too. So,
and then as you get going into more techniques, I think they sort of can lead into each other. As you start clearing, you might find times, maybe it's not pure meditation, but you're in a state of, oh, I'm just thinking about positive things of what I want to accomplish. And here's my goals for the day. Like you kind of think, hey, that might be my little meditative period where now I'm going through, how do I become better? And at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're going through stress, yeah, that negative talk, it is very prevalent in sort of this culture now. It's kind of getting ingrained in the culture. It sells on Instagram and TikTok and social media, which is, I mean, to you and I, it's probably sickening because it's like, how are these, especially younger kids, getting influenced with this, like you say, all or nothing thinking or overgeneralization, and they're just putting themselves in buckets and not even having time for themselves to think freely for themselves because everything's getting automated. So it's like one of those where really pull back and have people stop and think, is what my thought process leading to a poor outcome? And even throughout the day, you could be sitting at a stoplight or in traffic and aggravated, and you say, well, why am I really aggravated? Because then you look back and say, well, okay, I'm aggravated because I want to get home faster, but someone like you or someone else is going through a bigger stress in their life. I always think about that. For me, in my personal, like, someone else is dealing with something so much greater, and just take that time to pause and say, okay, I'm just grateful for the time I have now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one other thing that I gave this to my client because they were had a hard time kind of focusing or dialing it in, and kind of your typical negative self-talk, the 25-minute block periods. Really, when they honed it in and they said they worked perfectly. Go into the science of why 25 minutes of time frame and why put that into the book, because that's one thing that stuck out to me. And I'm like, oh, interesting, 25 minutes. Because I've heard no wrong, different research will say you have attention span for 90 minutes, but why the 25?
Was it 25 or was it 20? Maybe I thought it was 20 minutes, but maybe it is 25. But I think for me, it's like you can get a lot done in that short amount of time when you're like ultra focused. When you're like looking at the clock and like, oh, I've got an hour. Then you start like, oh, well, maybe I should go do that. Maybe I should do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, the 20-minute or 25-minute, it just really worked for me because it was like, I set a timer. I'm like, go, I'm going to start writing just words down for this book, or 20 minutes to go on a walk. And I think it's just that you get that mental clarity of, like, for me, I don't think 90 minutes is like, we're human.
It's a long time.
Yeah, we're humans. I don't think we have an attention span even that long. I think, and so many of us have ADHD and ADD,
Yep.
like squirrel. And so I just thought, like, set like a timer. I think it's like the tomato timer or something that I use.
Mm-hmm.
And I just set it. And then once it dings, I'm like, all right, let's move on to the next task. I did as much as I could. I was zeroed in on that. And I mean, maybe there is some research probably in it, but I think I just tried it because I read about it. I'm like, oh, this works pretty well. And so, I mean, I don't have a definite answer for that. Like, I just tried it and I'm like, oh, this works great for me as I was writing the book.
And with my client, they felt that they were more productive because they could get more tasks in. And I was like, oh, that's great, because they're feeling more accomplished. And goes back to the mindset definition of accomplishments. If they feel more accomplished and they can get more done throughout the day in smaller chunks, that's a win. So even if there's no, like, I love to ask, but there's no like standard research, it could be 17 minutes for someone. You're hitting that ability to say, hey, I'm getting accomplished. And I think that's really what really strikes the principle of that whole thing. I mean, it might not be 2 hours, it might not be 25 minutes, but if someone does something productive for even 10 minutes, they're going to check that off and say, okay, I can do something next. And then you just start bracketing the time so you don't get encapsulated into this world of what people are calling now the brain rot, or like doom scrolling, where you're just all of a sudden you look up and 25 minutes is gone because you just spent time going through reels and you didn't do anything and learn anything. And it's like you kind of just start to reset over and over again.
Yeah. And I also, just to kind of piggyback on that, like, yeah, I mean, there were times where, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago when I was doom scrolling. I'm like, hour is gone. What have I accomplished? Like nothing. And so then I pretty much got rid of social media. I just didn't post anything. Now I'm starting to kind of get back to it just because I just want to help and impact people. But yeah, I think just having that timer, like if you're doing some sort of like exercise or fitness, it's like suicides or running 100, like 800 meters or something like that. And you're like, all right, I got a time to break, or I got 2 minutes on the clock for a sparring session. 2 minutes can either feel like a long time or it could feel really short depending on what you're doing. And so I think just having that time, it kind of gives you that mental like clarity and like, all right, I could push really hard for the next 2 minutes and just go at it. And then those little small increments adds up to the big things.
And especially if we're talking exercise, you push for hard for like 2-3 minutes, the high intensity, it's shown that you're going to get increases of mitochondrial health and BDNF. Like you're going to help your system become better. But it's also, it's just that accomplishment that you've done something hard and challenging. And I think for someone like you, and I'm the same way, like if I sign up for a race, if it takes me 5 hours to do, I'm still going to do it because that's an accomplishment that I'm going to make sure that I can check that box off saying, hey, I did it. And I know from past experiences, when I've kind of thrown in the towel, like to this day, I can reflect on those moments and be like, those weren't my finest moments. And like, why did I do that? Did I really have that weaker mindset? And getting people back into that thinking of, okay, these small accomplishments, whether it's making lists throughout the day and getting them done, they stack up. And you talk about stacking your habits and stacking your accomplishments. Like that is one of the most important thing for ourselves as humans.
Yeah. And when we habit stack, that's actually changing your behavior. And so I give an example. If you're trying, I give an example, Lisa or whatever, she's trying to drink more water throughout the day. And then as she's checking emails, first 15, 20 minutes of the day or whatever her word, before she does that, she drinks a glass of water every single time she checks email. And you can do that with any habit. Like, let's just say you drink coffee every day. Well, while it's brewing for 2 minutes and your goal is to want to get better shape or stronger. Well, you have your coffee's brewing for 2 minutes. Well, what are you doing? Are you scrolling your phone? Well, your goal is to get better in shape. Start knocking out some push-ups, as many as you can in that 2 minute time frame. And if you think about it, like if you start January 1st doing that, how many push-ups can you do by the end of the year? Like it'll be a lot, and you're going to see results as you reflect back on, wow, I've done 500 push-ups from January 1st to December 31st just because I brew my coffee every day and I do push-ups while it's brewing. Like these little things definitely adds up. And exercise is great for mental clarity. It clears your mind and it just really helps with bringing down that stress. And so any of those habits that you can stack that you're already doing, like all the more do it more so.
Yeah. It's one of those easy things. It's one of those things where with exercise, like the 50K you were doing, it doesn't have to be that long, but even if it's a 30-minute session, you can do some challenging things in exercise to really kind of test your willpower or your mental kind of bandwidth, because it's going to get tough. You're going to breathe heavy. Your body's going to feel like it's burning up, but it's kind of like those mental checks to say, hey, I can endure this struggle and I'm going to be better. And I come out better on the other side. It's one of those daily, for me, I would say that's kind of my meditation where I can like kind of release some ability of tension, of energy, and then also challenge myself at the same time. And then you kind of get that release of, okay, that's an accomplishment. Where's my next one too? And really about the timing of the day. Like we have a lot of time throughout the day, and I know people do squander it doing scrolling or just wasting time, but framing that of how we can use that time to better a lot of things. That towards the end of the book, you start talking about relationships and being social with people. And I think that's very important, because as you go through the book and this kind of this journey, as I kind of saw it, you start seeing, okay, what is my bigger purpose on this earth? Like, what is my purpose to be here? and kind of thinking, I want people when they read it to think about what their purpose is. And as they start getting into more complex stuff, relationships and social, this is where I think social media can be good, but it can also, like, there's that teetering point because you're going to have social interactions. And I can keep up with some of my coach friends that they coach across the country and interact with them and have a network. But at the same time, you got to know when this is going to be beneficial because I'm having a successful accomplishment and talking to a coach versus not beneficial and you're just kind of wasting time.
Yeah. And as you say, building relationships and like, so kind of coming to the end of the book, I say finding your purpose, but leaving a legacy. And so for me, my wife and I, we tried to have children for 10 plus years, but we just couldn't. And then my wife had some other health issues before cancer that didn't allow us to have children. And so for me, I was always wanted to be a parent, but, and that, like, for me, that was like, all right, my legacy is through children, and that could be a lot of people.
Mhm.
But then once that dream or that I feel like purpose was gone, I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave a blood legacy per se, but I could still leave a legacy of how I can impact other people and how I can help them be healthier and be more mindful of their daily habits, of their just overall wellness, like their mental health, their spiritual health, their emotional health. And so for me, like I'm a pretty spiritual guy. Like if you look at Jesus's life, like he didn't have any children, but he still left a legacy on what the Bible says, and people follow Christ in so many ways. And so, like, for me, I wanted to be like Christ. I wanted to leave that legacy. And so I was like, what is my purpose? Well, maybe my purpose is to write this book and help somebody else out there that may or may not be going through a cancer or lost a job, but everybody is going to be struggling.
At some point.
Yeah, at some point. Life is hard. Like the Bible says, you will go through many challenges or you will have much trouble in this world. And so we don't know what that is, but that's like my purpose. My legacy is to really help and impact people and to change their lives for the better. Because we have one mind, one body. What are we going to do with it?
And when you look at that book, you look at the Bible and you look at the adversity, especially that Jesus went through, and it's like he struggled and went through stress and still had that one overseeing goal for society. And when you look at it, I know some people, they don't see that in themselves, but all of us are going to go through that sort of struggle. It might not be as treacherous of a struggle or stress, but that's kind of what life is kind of going to be. It's going to be ups, it's going to be down, there's going to be major stress. And that book there shows us that you push through, and there's that greater purpose of pushing through, and you just don't give up.
Yeah. As you're saying that, when you said you sign up for races, and I do races too, I do Spartan races, a scripture kind of comes to mind. It's 1 Corinthians 9, verse 24. It says, do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. And when there's always an accomplishment or end goal in mind, we don't just like run like this aimlessly and just like,
No.
I'm just going to run around and I'm hoping that I will finish this 50K if I go on this route or whatever. No, follow the path, like, and because you've trained really hard, run on that path and continue to go there, because then you'll make that accomplishment, you'll finish. And so I think about that because I think so many of us in life, and it boils down to our mind as well, is our minds are just running aimlessly. And so whatever it be, it's doom scrolling or watching Netflix for 12 hours or not bettering ourselves. Like, how often do we read a book Like if you look at Elon Musk and Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, they're reading like 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, what if we just spent 20 minutes every single day to read something that will really encourage our minds to be better, to whether it be in fitness or about finances or about stress management or whatever it is. Like, how are we using that time? A lot of times we're just going around, oh, it's Monday, oh, time to go to work, oh, lunch break, I'm going to scroll on my phone. We're not using that wisely, and we're just running around aimlessly.
And then it leads to what I always kind of view as people, a lot of people are just lost. They're the lost sheep, that they don't have a purpose. And
Yeah.
I was very lucky earlier on in my life, maybe in my mid-20s, to find that kind of purpose of what I want to do and how I wanted to help people. But the more I talk to people, and like, people are very, very kind of just lost and not really having a purpose. And it's one thing as a coach that really, I tell people, I love getting people strong, but my underlying goal is to help people realize their full potential and understand maybe why they're here, what their purpose is, and how do they achieve that. And through exercise and training and races, that shows you, like that quote, how to pursue that. But that's one thing I think a field society is really lacking these days. Hence why, I mean, people are looking for books like this. People like search for podcasts like this because they're kind of aimlessly lost. So when you have this, and one of my favorite part of the book is you get to the end and you're basically just reread this book again, like go do it again, because you read it once, you'll understand it, but your life is going to be situation after situation where you can take from it. And it's sort of like, you just go challenge, okay, you read it now, don't just put it on the shelf, reread it again. It might not be now, it might be in 6 months when something changes or someone comes into your life. So I was like helping people guide their mindset to guide a purpose to really change themselves and to change society is one of my overarching goals. And that's one thing I really took out of this book, reading it and recommending it to some of my clients to read that are struggling with the mental side of negative self-talk and not able to break habits.
And for me, I did martial arts. Another thing that my instructor said is like, stick with the basics, master the basics. And so he was like, do a kick 300 times. There's a Bruce Lee quote that says, Bruce Lee said, I'm not afraid of the man who's done one kick 10,000 or 10,000 kicks one time, but one kick 10,000 times. Because if he kicks you with that one kick that you practiced for 10,000 times, like, it's going to hurt. Yeah. And so it's going back to the basics, because I mean, I've reread my own book like many times because I'm like, I forgot what it says. I'm like, oh, I need to get back to that too. Like just getting back to the basics. And for me, I read the Bible every single day, but then life happens. I've read a scripture 10 years ago that I'm like, oh, that means something completely different today. And then actually applying it. Like for me, like my book is not just a book to read. Like, hey, I give you some chapter challenges. Like, hey, go try this out. Go practice it. Go do it. See if it changes your life. See if it changes your mind. See if it changes your actions, and being consistent with it. Because we're human. We like the comfort. We like the easy way out because our brains are wired to be in survival mode. And when we do something uncomfortable or challenging, it's like, oh, this feels awkward. This feels weird. But as you do it more and more, like the repetition, that if you go back, reread it again, you're like, oh, I didn't know that said that in there. Like, okay, let me go practice that. Because there's a lot of practicals in there. I mean, I'm not saying go all do the practicals now and try to overwhelm yourself, because there's other ones, finding a mentor, finding an accountability partner, continue to go to like seminars and building a community, things like that. Like, don't try to all do it at once. Rome wasn't built in a day. The world wasn't built in a day. You're not going to pick up all these strategies in a day or one reading. So that's kind of why I was like, yeah, just continue to reread it.
And for you, I like to ask people this question, especially if they read the Bible. Do you read it sequentially, or do you pick and choose? Do you open up randomly? Like, how do you go about it?
It depends. I've never read it like front to back. like sequentially. I've never done that. Sometimes I would just start with the New Testament. I'll start with just reading the Gospels, reading like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, just to like, I need to get closer to Jesus. But then there's just times like I just need a punch to my face. Like, and I'm like, I need to go read James because it's short, simple. It's like, oh, and it was kind of my own idea, but I know I'm messing up here. But then there's times where I'm like, I'm really struggling with my wife's cancer diagnosis. Everything is falling apart. So I'll go read Job because I'm like, if I look at Job, Job had everything taken from him. But I'm like, it gives me perspective. I'm like, I don't have it as bad as he does. And yet he still honored God and never cursed God. And then God gave him double back of what he had before. And so for me, sometimes it's perspective. Sometimes I'm working on my character. I'm like, I'm not a good husband now. I need to go read some scriptures just on how to be a great husband. I might just study that out, or I might study like giving. I'm like, I'm not giving my time. I'm not giving my tithing. Like, why am I not doing that? So I'll just read all scriptures about giving and what that means. And I'm like, okay, I puts things in perspective for me. And so, yeah, I've never actually read it like all front to back all the way through. Sometimes I'm just like, a lot of times I'm working on myself on a lot of that I need to change. So,
and I always say, because like we all kind of have our different scriptures that we read or we like to go to. Like I like to go to Proverbs sometimes and challenge my thought process a little bit. But sometimes I'll go to Revelations and I'm like, okay, if I really need something, like I'm going to Revelations, like, okay, I need like grounding. But I asked that because this book it reminds me of that kind of same thing. You might not read it cover to cover. I want someone to, but at times you might open up a page and go, okay, this page is overcoming fear of failure, lesson and courage. And you might read that section and that might be what you read the day. And then another time you might flip to another page after you bookmark it and it's finding common ground. You can take the kind of similar aspects of like reading scripture. You're going to take away lessons. You're going to take away something from a page in the book without having to go, oh, what did the previous page say? Because you're getting these sections and these principles then and there. So if it does sit, like I like to leave books out. So when people come over, they're going to pick stuff up and they're going to flip to a page. And I usually I have pages tabbed. They open it up to a highlighted page. They're going to read what I have highlighted and they're going to be like, okay. And I hope it maybe changes the way someone thinks that day, or they get a little bit more intrigued that maybe I should take this book and read it. But I like that. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but the aspect is very similar to me as like the Bible. You can pick it up and you can learn from any page without having to go back and be like, oh, I have to read everything.
Yeah. And I wanted to make it digestible for like little pieces here and there, like just like small aha moments, things like that. Because for me, I can't learn in like long stretches because that's not how my mind works. Like for me, I need, give me something like one or two things actionable that I can do now and that I can go implement and see how it changes my life. The same thing with the Bible, or same thing with like a book that I'm reading. Like I'm trying to read like a 600-page book. I'm like, what did the page before that say? And they're just going on and on for like the entire chapter. I'm like, okay, I'm lost.
Reread.
Yeah, I got to go reread it. So for me, like that's kind of how my mind works. Is I like small, like little chunks. Like when I'm training for the 50K, I didn't just wake up one morning and be like, all right, I'm going to go run 20 miles. Like, well, let me build that up. I trained for 6 months, and first day one, I'm like, all right, I'm going to start with 3 miles and then add some burpees in there. The next day, 3 miles again, maybe one extra burpee. And so, because like for me, it's overwhelming when I'm looking at like a 50K, that's 32 miles, 33 miles plus 60 obstacles. I'm like, how do I even calculate that? Like in my mind, for me, I just can't, because it's overwhelming for me. And so for my wife, it was the same thing. Like we have an entire year treatment. We have chemo, radiation. We have this drug to take. And I'm like, okay, let's just take one day at a time. What can we do during those times when we're not doing chemo? Well, we can change our nutrition. What kind of nutrition do we need to do? Or we're reading about broccoli sprouts. Broccoli sprouts has 10 times more cancer-fighting ingredients than actual broccoli. So I'm like, okay, well, that's a small step we could do. Let's grow our own. Let's throw it in our food or salads and start getting the benefits from it. And let's do that every single day for an entire year.
And then I assume with that, like you read something like that and you start that mindset towards it going, I'm doing something to combat this, to fight this. You get that small win, like, okay, I'm doing something to here we go. And then you just keep stacking those. And those are the small wins throughout the day that you said earlier that help you have that kind of mental clarity. Like, okay, I'm doing something to attack the situation.
Yeah. And like small wins are like awesome. I think about martial arts. Everybody starts as a white belt, but you progress. Like it goes from like white to like yellow and then yellow to green or whatever. You don't just go from white belt to black belt all of a sudden. Like our bodies, our minds just were like, I've been going to this martial arts school for 5 years and I'm still a white belt. People give up, like, because they don't see that progress. They don't see that accomplishment. But as you're progressing, same thing with grade school. You start with kindergarten and then somehow you're in 12th grade all of a sudden. But that takes years. You just don't just do it in one day. Like same thing with like a baby walking, trying to learn how to walk. They don't walk and just like roll over, walk up and like take off and run. Like no baby does that. And so these small wins are encouragement to ourselves, like our personally.
All those progressions and small wins, because that's what I think. And I mentioned social media a lot because I think that's what takes away. People see it and they go, oh my gosh, that's an instant win. How come I can't do that? It's like, well, that person probably had a bunch of small wins, but they're not seeing the structure of work that's put in. And that's really helping people understand, like, you put that time, you put that effort, that structure work, you're doing all the things. And even if they're little things, the littlest things add up. That's going to lead you on your trajectory and like honing in on those small little things. Like I'm sure in martial arts, to go from a white belt to the next belt, it's like, it's not big things, but you got to master and fine tune the small technical things and be able to repeat that over and over again. And that's the beauty of how our brains kind of really function and work. And I think as we start to pull back and get away from this instant gratification and everything's going to happen readily available, we can start changing people to understand that you get small wins and they're going to have better and better lives.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Well,
but yeah, just want to say, if you want a copy of my book, you can go to my website, dkkang.com. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm actually giving away the first chapter of my book for free as a free download. And then if you really enjoy it, go and pick up my book. It's on Amazon. I actually do have another book. It's called the Kimchi Connection Cookbook. And I feel that kimchi is it's a very powerful food that many of us don't really know about, especially with the gut brain health, because with probiotics and just really helping that your gut heal, because there's so much that your gut has the immune system. And when your gut's not, you have this brain fog and you just can't think. If you want to go pick up that book as well. But yeah, like I enjoyed it. This is a great conversation. You're a great host. So
well, that's the conversations here are always helping people to learn. That's the ultimate premise of why we started this podcast, is to educate people and not feel like it has to be too sciencey, but bridging that science to layman's terms to help people understand. You and I can sit down and read autonomic nervous system textbooks and understand and digest it. Most people are never going to touch that. How to take that and put it into a manual, just like the Bible is a manual of how to live and how to understand past histories, how to understand. Yeah, there's going to be setbacks. Yes, there's going to be stress, but your accomplishments going to overset and overpower all that, and not let the setbacks and stress win. Because at the end of the day, if those win, your mindset loses. And there's your definition of mindset. It's not a buzzword, but we do appreciate coming on. And I didn't realize how much you could do with kimchi.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've only eaten kind of certain ways in Asian cuisines, but under opening that book going, wow, you can do this, this, and this. And it is a power food. It is just a badass power food that I think more people need to get exposed to. And I think that's a a big thing to kind of talk about with fermented foods and in gut health, because you can't talk brain without gut health.
That's
Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie here from Think Fitness Life. Our entire careers have been dedicated to fitness, particularly how the mind helps the body. We've been around gyms and nutrition strategies for 25 plus years collectively, and nothing harms or helps better than your own mind, untrained or trained. Pushing beyond your limits, overcoming whatever's thrown your way, and making the decision to show up day in and day out as a lifestyle takes more soul than sand. And what I mean by that is when you can get your mindset and heart leading you consistently in the direction of your goals and dreams, well, it's just a matter of time before you have the performance, physique, or quality of life you're yearning for. See, your thoughts will stem from your beliefs, which will then lead you to action, which develop into your behavior and ultimately lead you to results. It's really that simple. Our process takes time and it takes open communication. It's amazing what pops up along the fitness journey to betterment, and we can be there every step of the way. To learn more or apply for coaching, visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com. Start recreating your life today.